a show hosted by 3 people, and her name is Ash. So I want to start off by the episode that I listened to was not for fat people, which is good. They usually are. But this is how she introduced the episode I listened to.
Hello, welcome to The Fat Lip, the podcast for fat people about fat people. I'm your fat host, Ash, and today I am changing it up and making an episode specifically for not fat people, which is something I don't think I've done before.
Awesome. I'm the target audience for this. So, Doug, which episodes you listened to, what'd you pick up on?
I listened to 2 episodes, being fat and flying and dying while fat.
Okay, awesome, good. So we don't have any overlap, because I saw you sent over a lot of clips. I was like, oh boy, if he heard the episode I heard, he pulled every part of it, because there was nothing I didn't clip from this episode. It's so fucking funny. This show is hilarious. I recommend everyone check it out. It really is a lot of fun. Do you have a clip that maybe sums up the show for you?
My clip number 5 is a good example of what I believe her whole personality and show is about.
Everyone's always talking about fat people and death and telling us how we're about to die at any moment. And so you'd think that if fat people were dying in these huge numbers, the way that the medical community and the public at large imply we are, that fat postmortem and funerary information would be everywhere. And you'd think that the funeral industry would be used to handling fat bodies, and all the equipment would be more than ready to handle us when we die. And turns out that that's not the case, which is so interesting.
Is she crying?
It sounds like there's a combination of her being nervous and having sausage gravy stuck in her throat.
Yeah. I picked up on that too. So it's interesting. She's in the episode I listened to, she's talking about people who love fat people, and she's concerned about all these stereotypes and things that people who are thin think about fat people.
So there are some very clear and urgent ways that anti-fatness is dangerous to fat people. And the first and most important is anti-fatness in healthcare. Maybe you've noticed that your fat partner doesn't trust doctors, or that they've had bad experiences with them in the past, because there is very real documented bias towards fat people from healthcare providers.
So healthcare providers, this is what they do that's really fucked up, Doug, is that when you have some symptoms of something and you're obese, they go, well, it might help if you lose weight. And that's very offensive to these people.
This is going to be a hard episode to get through because everything is intertwined.
Yeah.
Everybody is fat phobic, and she doesn't trust anybody.
Correct.
Like when we start talking about the corners and donating your fat body to science, she is concerned that she's going to get finger fucked when she's dead. I assure her that is not going to happen.
On her About page on thefatlip.com, it says she is 500 plus pounds of skepticism and Coca-Cola. She's over 500 pounds. And by the way, I have to tell you, the blog on that site is worth checking out. There is a page on the blog that is titled 27 Sturdy Chairs for Fat People Up to and Beyond 500 Pounds. There's a lot of talk about sturdy chairs. I'm not even joking on this show. So, go ahead.
Like, I don't know how we're gonna do this.
I don't either.
So she's got an ad read for.
I think I'm gonna laugh myself to death, like in Framing Roger Rabbit.
It's gonna be some
like
heavy
on her
lifting.
website, like you said, she's got the 40 chairs that'll hold your fat ass up, and then there's also a Big Fig mattress ad,
Yes.
which is big figure. My number 40 is her doing an ad read, which also explains how she got to be 500 plus pounds.
I need to talk about Big Fig. And boy, do I have to talk about Big Fig, because I'm in a hotel bed and it is so uncomfortable. And all I want is my Big Fig. Because I got here 2 days ahead of my husband, I've been like mostly spending my time in this bed.
That noise gate is distracting, by the way.
Yeah. Just sitting on the bed for 2 fucking days.
Yeah, of course she is.
I think 500 plus is probably more towards the 800 pound range.
Yeah.
I ended up, so I went to her About page, and then I went to her Instagram, and then I watched her on YouTube because, I like to do all the prep work that I can for this show.
I know you do, buddy.
And I had a picture I was going to send you, but I didn't know where you went, and I didn't want to send it to you.
And also,
I don't know if you want to.
My monitor's not that big, so I might not be able to see it.
I got a couple examples to give your audience a mental, like a visualization of how big she is. Play number 34.
And especially when you're infinifat and you're taking 2 seats. For me, like, I take up nearly the 2 entire seats. And that usually ends up meaning that I'm sort of sitting on that hump between the 2 seats.
She said she was infinifat?
Okay, so I'm glad you asked, Carl.
Infinitely fat.
So I looked up to see what infinifat was.
Yeah, what is that?
A complimentary term to superfat. Infinifat was coined by Ash of the Fat Lip podcast to describe those whose size is greater than any assignable size number. Too fat for commercially available clothing. They are sized out of brick and mortar plus size stores and must order clothing online.
Holy shit. So she can't even go to like a fat person store and buy clothing.
So what's great is I found out that she quit the podcast because she started this online swap thing for infinifat people to exchange clothes. So if you have clothes that you don't want anymore, you can send it to some other tubby bitch that doesn't have clothes. And like in my mind, the first thing I thought of is like a tarp exchange. That's all she's done. She's quit her podcast to just start sending tarps all over the country.
Yeah.
That's what I picture.
A parachute, maybe?
What are the name size? I mean, what do they call those sizes? Is it just dimensions?
Well, this hang glider's not working very well anymore, so.
Sleep 6.
All right. Let's find out what this episode is about.
And I know that a lot of times people who prefer fat people think that fat people's main struggle is seating. And seating is definitely important, but I want to dive a little deeper into this and how seating is only one aspect of accessibility and how accessibility is only one aspect of fat liberation.
All right. So I didn't realize that the first problem with accessibility is seating. I had no idea about that, as obviously you figured out too. She has to sit in 2 chairs. But it is an important part of it.
And yeah, being mindful of whether or not a restaurant has sturdy armless chairs is an important part of dating a fat person.
Being mindful of whether a restaurant has sturdy chairs is part of dating
so
a fat person.
I can speak to this.
Yeah, okay, please.
So you've had me talking about true crime. You've had me talking about flat earthers. You've had me talking about 90s disc jockeys. Finally, we have hit a subject that is in my fucking wheelhouse.
Yes.
Like,
I knew you would know something about this.
I won't go to a Waffle House to eat because everything's bolted to the fucking floor. I can't move the table away from me to get in there and sit down.
Also, the food sucks. Also, you shouldn't go to Waffle Houses.
So says you.
So you're familiar with this issue then, where it's a problem when the seating isn't conducive to fat people sitting in it. Now, it's interesting because she actually says that if you're dating a fat person, you should pay very close attention to seating everywhere you go.
Speaking generally, though, you want to be paying attention to seating wherever you go, even if your partner isn't with you. Like, I can't tell you how lovely it is when a partner comes home and says, oh, I walked past this place today with really nice sturdy benches and I think you'd be really comfortable there.
It sounds like your husband was goofing on you. And she's like, oh, that's so sweet. It's not even my birthday and you're telling me that? So nice. I think this noise gate, by the way, which you're going to keep hearing, I think it's because she's probably breathing very heavily and she wants to cut all of the breathiness out because it's weird. It's distracting.
Yeah, there's a lot of mouth noises coming out of her from the episodes that I heard.
Yes, things that could definitely have been cleaned up.
So if you want to grab dinner out, like, just let them pick the spot. Like, they know where the seats are going to be comfortable for them. They know what's good. And they probably know where the best food is anyway.
Now that sounds like fat phobia. Fat people know where the best food is. And I'll say this. If I could date someone who knows where they want to go to dinner and I never have to have that conversation again, I'll date a fat person. That sounds amazing. Where do you want to go to dinner? The place with the big chairs. All right, let's go. Get in the car. Get in the back of the car. Let's go.
He's not kidding.
Get in the trunk. Let's go. So then she goes on to explain what we could be doing as skinny people who love fat people.
The comic book shop you love has a gaming table with chairs that you know won't work for your partner. So it's totally worth talking to the owner or manager and just saying, hey, I love this place and I come here all the time and I'd like to bring my partner here, but the seating just doesn't work for them, and then ask them if they have another option or if they could look into a sturdier seating solution. Like, that stuff can't hurt.
I'll stack up pallets for you at the gaming table.
I know it's important to go to the comic book shop, but Jesus.
And then she has a name for people who fuck fat people.
Again, like, this is all great stuff. And on a micro level, it is very good practice as a partner of a fat person to be aware of seating.
A fartner is what she was going to say. I think that's a funny word. I'm going to start using that.
So I wanted to go back to another good example to give a good visualization of how big she is. Number 27.
Okay.
And they asked me initially to then get off the scooter and walk through the puffer machine, the big scanner. And they asked me, of course, if I could walk first. If I couldn't walk, they wouldn't have asked me to get up and go through the scanner, of course. And I said I could walk. But the problem is the scanner doesn't really work on me because I touch the sides.
She's talking about it in the airport?
Yeah.
Holy shit, that thing is huge. She touches the sides. I mean, that's not funny.
No, not at all.
Not at all. Dude, even her Patreon is lazy. Did you go to look at her Patreon page? It's just tiers. There's nothing else there. It doesn't tell you what you get. It doesn't like have listings of episodes or anything. It's just like, here, give me money. Here's how you can give me money. Okay.
I think she's converted it from the podcast to now in the title block up there, it says it's a fat magazine for fat people or something. So it's an online magazine where she gets articles from fat people to write to other fat people.
Okay. All right. Well, she does have some pet peeves.
And to be honest, one of my biggest pet peeves is when people who are attracted to fat people or prefer fat people have no understanding of what fat people actually face in our daily lives and who exhibit no interest in learning. So I'm going to tackle that a little bit today.
All right. It's amazing someone wants to be with a 600-pound woman, and now she wants to bring her baggage along too. Hey, listen, not only do you have to sleep with me, we have to hear about all my fucking problems too and understand where I'm coming from. Listen, honey.
Yeah, everything about her is just, she's the victim. No matter what it is, she's the victim.
Correct. It's amazing I can get a boner. Can you stop complaining about fucking society for a half a second, please?
Just be happy that I can even just penetrate your fucking lips.
Apparently, everyone hates fat people, even fat people.
So the first thing I want to say is that we are all carrying some degree of anti-fatness around with us. Like, even fat people, even people who are attracted to fat people.
This is true because Vinny fucking hates fat people. He's talked about it many times.
And that's okay. It's okay to look at somebody and pass judgment on them. Like, you can look at somebody that is 600 pounds or 700 pounds and think they don't care about themselves. They don't care about other people. They are a shitty person. It is okay to think that.
Is it though? Because according to her, that is not okay. And even the word obesity, problematic.
And related to this, it's important for you to know that everything you've heard about obesity. Actually, let me insert a pretty important side note here. More and more fat people in FatLib have started to consider the word obesity a slur. And like, that should be the end of it. If someone is telling you that a word you're using is harmful to them, you believe them.
Honey, the Big Mac is way worse for you than the word obesity.
Infinifat.
Yeah, infinifat is what you have to be calling now. And obesity doesn't work. Holy shit. She's amazing.
Fat people have a superpower to know if the person they're talking to is disgusted with them.
Oh, okay.
They pick up the first one of that is
on social cues.
The first one, it's probably just people going.
Yeah, they get vomit on my shirt. That's how I know. By the way, I'll let you get into your things, but on the fatlip.com, she's wearing a hot dog half shirt on the about page. She just shows off the entire cunt. And I don't know if like she can't find a shirt that covers her cunt, but there's a hot dog on it. I mean, are we even pretending that there isn't a problem here? Go ahead, Doug. What were you saying?
Number 9 is the one referencing her fat people superpowers.
Maybe part of that plan should be interviewing funeral professionals and choosing for yourself the person or people who will be handling your body when you die, so that you can get some sort of feel of how they might treat you. And I think fat people are uniquely set up to make those judgments because we can tell when we're speaking to someone what their feelings are about fat bodies.
She's fucking crying through this whole episode. I gotta go back and listen to this one. This sounds fantastic.
As you said, I sent over a lot of clips, and it's hard to tie all this shit together. But
that's all right. Let's just keep going.
This would be one of the podcasts that would be worth just playing an episode from start to finish and then pausing it and saying, "When the fuck did that tubby bitch say? This is ridiculous."
No, I totally agree with you. There were so many parts where I'm just pulling clip after clip. So she's talking about the healthcare system and how doctors are against them, and so it's good to bring a skinny person with you to the doctor.
What has helped me on occasion is taking my not fat husband with me when I see a doctor, because I find that health professionals are much less likely to treat me like shit if there's a not fat witness in the room.
So she's talking about like when you go to a mechanic and you're a woman, you're like, I'm gonna bring my husband because I don't want to fucking rotate the tires. I don't need to. Right. That's the dumbest thing I could have thought of.
So, what do you make of her term fat and not fat? Why isn't it just normal and fat?
Yeah, I know. You're right. She has a bias towards thin people because she always calls them thin people. And it's interesting because she even makes the point that you don't call people out for anything else about them except for when they're fat.
We don't call thin people by their health diagnoses because it's rude and minimizing. Like you would never call a person with cancer cancerous. Like you would never refer to someone as a cancerous person. Like, can you even imagine doing that? Of course not.
No, you call them baldy. That's way funnier.
Yeah, I was just thinking, cancer, baby. I do that all the time.
Hey, look at leukemia over there. Not one for this world, are you? All right, I want to run through a few clips about the healthcare system and all the issues with that.
A lot of times fat people find that doctors ignore their symptoms and focus only on their weight. So sometimes we'll say over and over why we're there, and a doctor keeps coming back to a suggested diet or a weight loss surgery.
Yeah, probably because those things would help you with those symptoms. Losing weight would likely help you alleviate those symptoms, which is why they tell you that. That's not what I want to hear, though. Yeah, okay, I know. Sorry. Sorry about the tough love.
What's most important to acknowledge here, though, is that healthcare can be incredibly traumatizing for a fat person.
Yeah, okay, well, I feel the same way about an orthodontist, but you don't hear me fucking crying about it. I'm just kidding. I've never been to an orthodontist, obviously.
Okay, so jumping from that episode to this episode, so I've got two counterpoints, or I guess 2 clips that'll go along with what you said. My number 28 is, and it's referencing that in her mind, fat people are the only ones that are affected by anything.
So I told them that, and they said, okay, that I would have to have a pat down, which is like, I mean, it's not ideal. And I know very fat people who have felt that the pat down was too invasive.
A pat down? She's a pat in. I mean, she could be hiding a gun anywhere. Are you kidding me?
I think it'd be like a jiggle down.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Just push on her stomach once, and as it starts rolling, see if anything falls out. You're good to go. Go ahead, lady.
By the way, just so you know, honey, the rest of us love when strangers touch us all over. It's fucking great. We love the airport experience. I just give it 5 stars every time I leave there. I'm right on to Yelp. Like, yeah, this was an amazing... Oh, TSA did it again. They're the best.
Yeah, Duff brings up a good point. Like, she's the only one that has to go through this shit.
Right, it sucks.
Yeah.
It's fucking annoying. Yeah. One
The
asshole
other
tried
thing-
to put a bomb in his
go ahead.
shoe, and I'm still taking out my fucking shoes for 20 years. I'm taking out my shoes. All right.
The other thing that she seems to do is she keeps referencing in every episode how the healthcare industry refuses to do any type of investigation on the health risks of obesity.
Oh, really? There's never been a paper about that or a study? Is that how that works?
Clip number 18 is her referencing it in the dying episode.
But in theory, it would be amazing for fat bodies to actually receive thorough study, post-mortem study. We know very well that fat people and fat health are dangerously under-researched.
Under-researched? What is she talking about? Is that even... Oh, I should have got Dr. Steve on for this one. I wanted to text him the whole time I was listening to this because This is similar to what you're playing on here.
What I was saying is, that it's important for you to know that everything you've heard about obesity is, quote, and it's, quote, related conditions, like diabetes and high blood pressure, is probably incorrect.
That's probably incorrect. Thousands of studies, scientific research, probably incorrect. And she tells us why that is.
Yes, it is true that being a higher weight is correlated with certain conditions and that diabetes and high blood pressure are among these. However, correlation is not causation, as we all learned in junior high science. There's also very little evidence that being fat even causes these conditions.
Fat earther.
She's a fat earther. This is so insane. There's very little evidence that being fat is what causes diabetes. Very little evidence of that. Okay. She's something else, man. I would fucking subscribe to her newsletter. Oh, wait, she has one? Never mind then.
And there's also some like healthism and ableism thrown in there. A nice little discrimination cocktail.
She's concerned about healthism. You're going to die young, hon. I'm sorry to tell you that.
Oh, hold. My number 22 is her talking about would be her response to what you just said.
But the truth is that thin people are exactly as mortal as fat people are. Like, no matter how healthy they are, how fit they are exactly as likely to die as fat people are. We will all certainly die.
Tell that to COVID. Wasn't it 78% of COVID deaths were people who are overweight or obese? What the fuck is she talking about? She's like, yeah, see, no. Davy Jones from the Monkees? There you go. There's my proof.
No, what she's saying is, I'm fat. I'm going to die. You're skinny. You're going to die. What's it matter?
Well, that's true.
The difference is that you're going to be able to see your fucking grandkids grow up, whereas
and my toes.
I might not.
Oh my God, there's so much discrimination against these poor fatties.
Anti-fatness literally affects people's livelihoods, and housing discrimination against fat people is a real problem.
Yeah, most houses have stairs. It's a real problem. It's poor people.
When I was listening to this, I was sitting in my recliner in my living room, and I had my headphones on, of course, because I didn't want my wife knowing what I was fucking listening to. So anyway, when my clip number 14, I started laughing out loud, and like I'm going to use this in my day-to-day life.
Okay.
Hold on. She's talking about some of the things that when you die, and some of the things that real fat people have to deal with, or at least the funeral home has to deal with dealing with their bodies.
Okay.
Extra embalming costs, you need a bigger hole dug.
Oh my God, I was going to make a joke about that earlier. She literally says you need a bigger hole.
Yeah, but I if you play it again, you can see why I would react the way I did, because I thought she was talking specifically to my fat ass.
Extra embalming costs, you need a bigger hole dug.
You need a bigger hole dug. But the good news is, though, is they only have to dig 3 feet, and then when they drop you in there, you get the other 3 feet taken care of. So you save costs that way.
My number 11 is more along that same conversation, where she's talking about why it costs more to bury an infinifat person as opposed to a normal person.
You need a custom-made casket, a larger than standard burial plot, also a larger than standard vault. So a casket that's extra wide might not fit in their plots.
Plus, all the pallbearers are complaining. It's all sorts of shit going on.
Oh, she goes on to talk about how when you bury somebody that is as big as she is, you throw off the grid layout of the cemetery.
Can they even cremate these people? Is there a large enough oven? Well, I guess the Germans had a large enough oven, but can you cremate someone who's 600 pounds?
I am glad you asked.
Okay.
Number 15.
I knew you'd have an answer.
Another consideration is that very fat bodies require more heat over a longer period of time for cremation. So finding a crematory with experience and doing this safely is important.
Safely?
Do you know what that means, to do it safely?
No. What does that mean?
Have you ever deep fried a turkey that still had ice crystals on it?
Oh, yeah.
You can get hurt doing that.
This one might have turkey crystals on it.
You've got to make sure that the crematory is equipped for a grease fire.
Exactly. This is amazing. She's like the next Tim Dillon. If this was a comedy show, this is the funniest thing I've ever heard. It's all jokes.
Here I was listening to this last night. I'm like, well, how are we going to find jokes in this?
Were you really?
No.
All right. Guys, Chris and Doug, I want you to listen to this. Finish this sentence, please.
It's kind of fascinating, right? That for thin people, a sudden health event that is debilitating or deadly is considered tragic, but for fat people, it's
Hilarious?
That's what I wrote down, Doug. What do you think?
Well deserved.
Yeah. Delicious.
I also put predictable,
Deep fried.
yawn-inducing. That's another one. All right, so now she explains why fat phobia is so awful, because these people can't be thin if they want to.
around 95% of attempts at sustained weight loss will fail. So even if fatness were a dire and immediate health threat, we are very unlikely to be able to change it. And in fact, dieting to lose weight and then regaining it, which is again very likely to be your outcome, is probably worse for your cardiovascular system than just remaining fat.
Yeah, it's not like these lazy people are going to get unlazy. You know, like, what do you want them to do about it? Listen, I was lazy my entire life. Now you want me to stop being lazy? What am I going to do? You got to just like me for me.
Imagine the poor guest that came in after she spent 2 days sitting on that hotel bed.
They have back problems right now, for sure. It's like sleeping in a hammock.
What's with the giant Papazon chair?
So I wasn't
My
aware,
beanbag bed
back
is
to your question.
broken.
Back to your question about cremation. I did learn something. There's something called water cremation. I'd never heard of that.
Yeah, me neither.
My clip number 16, she goes in depth and explains what it is. I want you to imagine, just for the sake of the show, imagine your wife is 700 pounds and you're going to water cremate her.
Okay.
And it is a process called alkaline hydrolysis, or sometimes called aquamation or water cremation. And in this process, a body is placed in a pressure chamber with a mixture of water and potassium hydroxide, and then heated to 320 degrees Fahrenheit under pressure for 4 to 6 hours. But in the end, what results are two outputs. So the first is a fluid that is like rich in amino acids, salts, sugar, peptides, that can either safely enter the sewer system or it can be used in a garden or a green space. And then the second output is the bone remains.
All this talking about cremation is making her hungry.
I know, it's a recipe.
No, so she said it can safely enter the sewage system.
Yeah.
Which either dumping your fucking wife down a storm drain or dumping her down the fucking toilet.
I'm listening.
Treat fat people like goldfish. Basically what she's saying.
But not baby alligators.
Holy shit.
How much damage would you do to your sewer system if you dumped 600 pounds of lard down your fucking toilet?
Let's find out.
They tell you not to dump oil down the drain.
Right,
they tell
right.
you that.
Yeah.
It's very bad. Jesus Christ.
So she's green at least.
All right. I want you guys to know where she stands on raping fat people. It's very important to know where she's at with that.
And finally, I know that some of you who are listening to this exclusively prefer fat people sexually, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I also don't think there's anything wrong with fat fetishes as long as you're only acting upon them with consenting parties.
Well, yeah, I would agree. Okay. So now she has the most ethical thing you can do if you're one of these non-fat people, as she calls thin, which I find very offensive. If you're one of these thin people who like obese people, most ethical thing you can do.
But I'm here to tell you that the most ethical thing you can do as a person who is exclusively attracted to fat people or as a fat fetishist is to pay for your porn, like with real money. Because the fat people who have made that content have consented to your consumption of it, and because they use that money to pay their bills.
Did you think it was going to go in that direction?
Consumption's the key word, too.
I'm consuming so much porn, I might shit it out later. And she goes on about this topic for a minute.
If you listen to this entire podcast enough that you care about fat liberation, I need you to care about it when you're sexually aroused too. The fat people in porn are still fat people who still face all the discrimination that other fat people do. They still have the same barriers to access, the same health discrimination, the same job discrimination. And if you're consuming their porn or their work, just pay for it. It's not even expensive.
No, you remember that ad campaign from like a decade ago? You know, you wouldn't download a land whale, would you?
Maybe.
Holy shit, I love that she thinks the whole idea of fat liberation starts with paying porn stars to be fat and naked.
I never saw that coming.
No, that's what I mean. The show's amazing. We should just do this show every week. I should just turn this into Who Are These Fat Lip Podcasts? Oh my God. I got to get on our Patreon. All right, Doug, you got a lot of shit. Let's blast through your stuff.
Okay, so this is in reference to donating your fat body to science, number 21.
Okay. So someone in the Discord wrote, she's Fatty G Cups. Our new favorite podcaster.
From what I read, most facilities say that fat bodies are too difficult to transport and store for their uses. I also read from one director of a medical research school that uses bodies donated to science that mostly what his facility is looking for are bodies for first-year medical students to dissect so that they can learn what the inside of a body is, quote, supposed to look like. And because of this, ideally, he says they need to see, quote, perfect bodies to learn. And when I read that, I found it incredibly telling. Like, no wonder fat people receive such poor treatment from the medical community. They are literally not taught about fat anatomy.
Oh my God.
You know what it is that the med students haven't been taught how to properly use a fucking chainsaw.
You see, getting through blubber is a lot different. You need more than a scalpel to pull that off. Oh my God. What's making this so funny right now, and I can't stop laughing, is how serious she is. She sounds like she's literally bawling her eyes out about it. Oh God. All right. Keep these coming, Doug. This is gold.
Yeah, it's like one of those Sally Struthers commercials from the fucking 90s.
Yeah. Look at these dumb assholes who are skinny behind me. Don't give money to them. Give money to me. I'm starving.
And food, yeah.
All right,
This
sorry.
is back to her talking about flying, and she went through the entire process from having to get an Uber, and you have to call like a fat-enabled Uber or something. I don't know if it's a fork truck with an Uber sticker on it. I don't know what it is. But the whole process of her going to the airport, checking in the airport, the layover, everything. And in this part of it, she's talking about how she used to use wheelchairs, but now she uses scooters, number 25.
Just the idea that a forklift picks her up from her house. She goes inside her house in the garage, just comes out with her. All right.
So now with the scooter, the last time I flew, I did not take a scooter. I asked for wheelchair assistance. And the problem with wheelchair assistance for someone my size is that the wheelchairs are all too small.
Well, yeah, you're right. Who's building a wheelchair for Jabba the Hutt? It's not a real thing.
So then she transitions into, there's a lot of scooter talk in this episode. Okay. Number 39 is how is a scooter rated and so on.
And the scooter that I have is only rated for 350 pounds, and I am well over that. But what you do is you just get like a higher power batteries.
Like a fucking Tesla battery on the back of this little fucking
She needs
scooter.
Elon Musk to get her to her fucking airplane. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. At any point, does she hear what she's saying and say, God, I need to lose a couple fucking pounds. Holy shit. This is turning into a serious problem.
And then she goes on to talk about how she came into possession of her most current scooter, number 38.
Okay, can't wait.
But my friend, who also uses a mobility scooter, she buys them when she sees them on places like Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, because often people are selling them perfectly good scooters for, $300 or $400.
All right.
Do you know why that is?
Why is that?
Because the owners fucking die.
You're right. That's a good point. But there's no correlation. There is a correlation, but it's not causation. Doug, very little evidence. I don't know why you keep saying that it's something to do with health.
It was, I don't know. It's just misinformation that they give us all our life, I guess.
Yeah, this is fucking Fauci and Big Pharma trying to feed us this bullshit. Just because you're 800 pounds, your heart is working very, very hard, and it's bad for you. I mean, there's no evidence of that. All right, let's talk about the fartners, as we were talking about before.
So what about those of you, because I know you're out there and listening, who would like your partner to be even fatter? My message to you and to everyone really is to let your partner exist peacefully in their body. It is the one thing that only they own, and they get to make literally every decision about it.
The body is the one thing you own. I own 3 PRS electric guitars. What is she talking about? It's the one thing you own. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, everything else that she owns is fucking perishable.
Yeah, right.
Oh, God.
How much do you think it costs to feed her a day? Seriously.
That's a good question.
I'm like $7 to $10 a day myself.
Okay. Well,
If anyone wants to donate.
There should be a tier on our Patreon, Feed Me for a Day, that we would know.
Right.
820, what? Holy shit. Yeah. Actually, I have the answer to that, producer Chris. I know the answer to that.
I wasn't expecting that.
By and large, fat people eat the same way that thin people do.
She eats just like us. She's the same as us.
She doesn't shove it up her ass and it comes out her mouth.
It's the only thing we have in common. Holy shit. I could do this all day. All right.
Yeah, I've only got about 30 more clips
I know.
left. So
We got a ton more. Let me play one more here.
It's ultimately about the freedom to exist in our bodies without judgment, and we could all use that.
So wait a second. You're saying that in your movement, let's say someone has born with club-footed or something, people couldn't make fun of that person for that?
No.
Oh, okay. I'm with you. I like this. I like this movement. What if they had crooked teeth? Could you goof on someone for that? No?
Absolutely not.
I like this. I'm on her side. I'm on Team Ash.
Smile talkers? Nope.
All right,
So-
let's go.
What I think is funny is she spends all this time talking about you shouldn't judge fat people, but she spends all her podcast judging skinny people. That's all she does.
Correct, because she's the ultimate victim, and it's the skinny people who are victimizing her.
All right, number 26 is a pretty good. I think she slipped up. If I recall, I think this is a good indicator that she doesn't believe what she's been saying.
It takes a lot of effort to push someone my size in a wheelchair, especially on ramps and that kind of stuff. Because I always feel bad, asking a Southwest Skycap to push me up a hill or something like that. And I shouldn't. I mean, it's their job, and but it's just one of those things.
So she's talking when I didn't clip any part of this, but the row that she was sitting in, she bought 2 seats, and she said that somebody went out of their way to come sit next to her, and
Get a picture of me.
it bothered her because she was worried about spilling over into his area from already in 2 seats. So every time that I fly, I get in my seat, and then I like to watch people's eyes as they're connecting. They look at their ticket, then they look at the row. They look at the ticket, they look at the row. And then they see the seat next to me, and they're like, God damn it.
My first flight was only an hour, so it felt like as soon as we were up into the air, we were, on the descent.
Because the pilot couldn't keep the fucking plane in the air. When she said that, I was thinking, if you remember Cannonball Run when they're on the motorcycle doing the wheelie across the United States, I was just picturing the plane with the nose in the air but flying parallel to the ground.
This is your captain speaking. We are now at a comfortable 20 feet, so go ahead and get up and walk amongst the cabin.
Can we get our peanuts before her?
Yeah, does she talk about how the food sucks on airplanes and how does she go to that bit?
What is up with that?
You call these Fritos. Am I right, people? Holy shit, I feel like punching the clock. I think our job is done here. No, let's go. We got tons of clips. Let's hit these.
We'll talk, like I said, she doesn't trust people, what they're going to do with her body when she's dead, number 17.
One of those options that I've always been curious about is donating the body to science. I have always had huge misgivings about this, though, because, again, it's hard to trust that my body would be properly handled after I'm not around to protect it.
She should donate her body as furniture.
Donating it to beanbag science.
Why does she care how her body's treated after she dies? She doesn't care about how she treats her body now.
Yeah,
Now
that's exactly what I was going to say.
She's going to be concerned about it after she's dead. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No, so number 8 is another. This is her talking about. That first one was her talking about what happens to her body when she donates it to science. Number 8 is talking just about in death in general.
And I think many fat people like me worry that our bodies might be mistreated in some way after our deaths.
I'm just picturing 8-year-olds jumping on her like she's a trampoline.
No, what are those things the blobs you put in water, you jump on one end and it shoots the kid off the other?
Yeah, like jackass. Her body's a temple.
God. This is I have to listen to this episode. This is amazing.
All right. So number 6, I just marked this as this is a clip that I finally agree with.
Okay.
I can't imagine how absolutely devastating it would be to be the loved one of a fat person.
Yeah, it sucks. I can imagine it's terrible. Having walls removed from your home so you can go to the hospital, it sucks. It's not fun.
We don't have to go through all of these. Number 12 is her talking about some of the financial burdens that come along with being a fucking fat cunt.
Okay.
And unfortunately, some cemeteries will require fat people to pay for 2 plots side by side because the fat tax persists even in death.
Oh my God. First it was the airlines, now it's the cemetery people. God damn it. Also, when I go to the restaurant, it costs twice as much because I ordered 2 dinners.
The pearly gates are too small.
Do you have an overhead door here or anything? Like, this isn't going to work. Where is there loading docks at the Pearl Gates?
Oh my God.
Carl, you all right, man?
No. I've never been more happy. This is so funny.
I got a golden ticket.
Lord Wolfenstein, thank you so much for sharing this podcast with us. Holy shit. All right. Doug, we should move on in a minute, but you got a bunch more clips. Let's hit a couple fun ones.
I'm only going to do 2 more.
Okay.
This one, I just marked it as I'm not sure she meant to say this. Okay. Number 32.
All right.
It's unfortunately, there is still a societal stigma about needing 2 seats on an airplane. So if you feel bad about it, you have every right to feel bad. You have every right to still experience discomfort about that.
Yeah, you should feel bad about it. Yeah. Honey, shame is a good thing. It stops us from eating so many cheeseburgers in the morning.
Yeah, she went on to talk about how she's been flying in 2 seats for over 10 years and she's no longer embarrassed.
Good for her.
That's not a good thing.
Where does she have to go? Where is she going? Stay put. You're an anchor. Just stay put. That's what anchors do. God damn it.
And then the last one I want to play, I just marked it as I think she ran out of carbs mid-sentence, number 30.
Okay, so then I got through security, and now the ticketing agent.
All right, honey. Take a break, eat a snack, come back. Wow. All right, well, I want to declare Ash my new favorite podcaster, and I really got to listen to some of these other episodes just for fun. This is so funny. I had so much fun pulling these clips.
Who are these podcasts? WATP.